What is going on, baseball fans? We are back at it once again, bringing you the state of the franchise here, and we are doing so with our friends from BuccoBantr. And happy to have you guys back on. Adam, Scott, what's going on, guys?
Thanks for having us, man. It's been too long.
Happy to be back. The Banter boys are back together.
That's it. We're bringing it nonstop here in the baseball world.
Yeah, man. It's been an exciting offseason. We're happy to finally talk baseball. We got some games going on now, and for once in our lives, the Pirates have been active. So it's been an exciting offseason.
Yeah, that was going to be my lead in terms of this offseason. You guys have been one of the more aggressive squads, so this should be a very fun conversation to have for sure.
Yeah, a much different one from last year, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And today in particular is coming off the heels of spring training. You know, at the time we're recording this is February 23rd. So the Yankees played the Pirates today in spring training. So that's always a fun time when the teams get to match up like that ahead of a conversation like this.
Yeah, you guys broke our 3-0 streak to start the year. So we thought we were going undefeated, but ran into the powerhouse today.
Yeah, I saw Scott's tweet. Oh, it was hilarious.
Which one? I've been tweeting all day.
The one about not being sad about the streak ending, but just be happy that it happened.
You know what? You'd be surprised how many people took that seriously. They were just like, it's spring training. Wins don't matter. I was like, it matters if you're winning. And then,
right.
Whatever.
Oh man, so funny. So now as we kind of go through this, just like last year, if we're, kind of taking a look back at the previous season and just kind of giving some overall thoughts, and then we'll take a look at the new team. So what was kind of some recap thoughts that you guys have on 2025?
Scott, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I mean, underwhelming, right? Like, and we kind of forecasted that at the beginning of the year. We knew what was coming unless some guys made some big strides, but they just didn't do enough. And the pitching was there, but they lost a lot of one-run games. That's a big theme that we took into the offseason. They just need offense. Maybe sacrifice a little bit of run prevention for run production, and that's what they did this offseason. But that was the theme of last year, man. Just didn't score enough runs, even if they had the staff to maybe hold down the opposing teams.
Yeah, they were pretty much last in every offensive category that mattered.
So that kind of leads perfectly into this offseason. And like we said, you guys have been very, very active. So obviously a lot of different moves that have been made. The most notable names, of course, Ryan O'Hearn, Gregory Soto for the bullpen, the Brandon Lowe trade, Marcell Ozuna. Which one would you guys peg as kind of the biggest addition for you?
I would say O'Hearn simply because they gave a guy a multi-year contract. We haven't gotten a multi-year deal in 10 years. It's been 10 years. So 10-year anniversary. We brought it back. Ryan O'Hearn.
Can you name the last person that they gave a 10-year multi-year
I actually
contract?
know it.
You should know this one. Come on.
I do. Ivan Nova.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, and I think O'Hearn, I mean, he's been an incredible story. This is a guy that got DFA'd multiple times. From the Royals to Orioles, traded to the Padres, and became a free agent, gets a big deal. He's more than just a good player. He's a good clubhouse guy, and the Pirates have had a problem not only with talent, but also building a winning culture in Pittsburgh because they've had so many one-year contracts and guys coming in and out, and they haven't been able to build that chemistry. But Ryan O'Hearn, we had him on the show. This is a guy that everybody should want in their clubhouse. He brings the energy every single day. He says he makes it a point every day to get to know somebody new in the building. And he compared the team to his Orioles team that won 101 games a couple of years ago. So more than just bringing in a multi-year deal, I think Ryan O'Hearn's somebody that you want to build talent around. And that was what, made it happen.
I just to touch on that real quick too. I think the clubhouse, the additions to the clubhouse has been the thing that's not talked about enough, because we were around this team all year last year. We were on the field and we got to talk to a lot of these guys, and like Brian Reynolds, great player. He's not going to be expected to be a clubhouse vocal guy. Like that's just not who he is. He's very quiet to himself. Andrew McCutchen's kind of the same way. But bringing in guys like Ryan O'Hearn, Brandon Lowe, Jake Mangum is the underrated piece here. I think he's going to be a glue guy. He's a guy that Pittsburghers, Yinzers are just going to flock around because he's got that blue collar mentality, that gritty mentality. I think that's been the biggest addition, is just what they brought to the clubhouse this offseason.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned Mangum, because our Rays correspondent Roman Rodriguez, that was the biggest piece of that trade that hurt him, was Mangum, more so than you think. Lau being the name, but it was actually Mangum that was the bigger blow for him in that deal. So I can definitely see that. And just to kind of retouch on the O'Hearn point, even on the broadcast today, it was running through the Pittsburgh broadcast for spring training, and he spoke about that. He spoke about being that different clubhouse, seeing this team kind of being that squad that was the Orioles in 2023 when they had that kind of magical run to 101 wins. He mentioned that again during the broadcast today about this team having kind of that special field and building on that. So it's definitely going to be an interesting thing for sure for you guys this upcoming season. And for me, looking at the moves that were made, O'Hearn definitely stands out, but I also found it very interesting, and I want your guys' take on it. In bringing in Marcell Ozuna officially ended the Andrew McCutchen era. So, kind of what does that feel for you guys as Pirates fans? Seeing the legendary player gone once again.
You want to go ahead?
No, let me lead this off real quick. No matter what we say, our head is going to be on a stake with answering this question, right? Like Andrew McCutchen. Let me preface it with this. I've been prefacing it with every time this is brought up. Andrew McCutchen's the best Pirate of our generation. I'm 31 years old. He's the best. I've seen 4 winning seasons. He's the only MVP I've ever witnessed in a Pirate uniform. He's the best Pirate of our generation, and he deserves a statue outside of PNC Park, believe it or not, in my opinion. That being said, I think this team got better. I really do. I think going to Marcell Ozuna, he had a hip issue last year. I know it was a down year for him, and I know he's in his age, 35, 36 season. This is a guy that's going to get on base. He's going to drive the ball, slug, and he's also going to be a mentor for the young Latin guys. I think O'Neal Cruz, this is the missing piece for him. We saw when we had Aroldis Chapman. Now, there's questions about these guys' character. We won't get into that. But we saw with Aroldis Chapman, without him, there might not be a Dennis Santana, right? And Dennis Santana is now the closer of this team. A lot of talk about O'Neal Cruz this offseason. You see him with Ozuna in the dugout in the first 3 or 4 spring training games. I think it's going to just permeate through the clubhouse with the young Latin guys.
Yeah, I echo everything Scott said. And I don't think Ozuna was at the top of their board this offseason. They were somewhat in on Okamoto. They were in on Eugenio Suarez. And they missed out on those guys because, listen, the Pirates have damned themselves for, a decade now with not handing out big contracts and not being a desirable place to play. And now that they're starting to do things right, you probably have to dish out a little bit more to free agents in order to lure them here. But they've done a good enough job this offseason bringing in enough guys where a guy like Ozuna doesn't hurt. Like, you need to inject slug into this lineup any way you can. So, yeah, you went after Okamoto. You missed out. You went after Suarez. You missed out. Who's the best bat on the market right now? Ozuna. Let's bring him in. 1 year, or it has a mutual option. That's a guy that, he's pretty limited to DH, but you're probably going to get 20 plus from him. And that's all this team needs. The amount of 1 to 2 run losses we had last year, you need to do anything you can to put the ball over the wall or in the gaps, and Ozuna provides that. Yeah.
I mean, it was mentioned on the broadcast as well that, Ozuna had what was considered a down year for him with 21 home runs, and that would have, led the Pirates last year. So definitely being able to add that kind of oomph to the lineup. And like you mentioned, I think the connection with O'Neal Cruz, I think, is going to play large for him this year. So definitely a big thing there. It's not always sunshine and rainbows, as we know. The positives of the offseason with all the acquisitions. There's also injuries that kind of come up and pop up, especially during spring training. Now, on the injury front, is there anything that you guys are kind of paying attention to or worried about heading into the year?
I'm going to just say right now, this is just a recent news, recency bias. Ryan Harbin is a guy that maybe not a lot of people know his name, but I've been told by many people throughout the organization and people around the team that he is the most MLB ready arm that people don't know about yet. He could have played a major role in this bullpen this year, and he still can, but it might be later on in the season. So Ryan Harbin is a name I'm circling for sure.
Other than that, though, there really isn't that much injury news of note. Obviously, Jared Jones is coming back from his internal brace surgery. Jack Brannigan's a prospect that just broke his nose the other day, but he should be fine. Knock on wood, this team is pretty healthy right now, and they've built depth, which they haven't had in a ton of years. Outside of the left side of the infield right now, they have guys that can plug and play in multiple positions, so they should be good moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. No, I think that it was a strong offseason for them, just bringing in that depth, and we talked about it in the last segment. But I think that, looking at the way that this team is projected right now, in terms of what's listed on the injury list, it's a good problem where you guys are right now, not really having to deal with too much of that, as we said, knock on wood. Now, as we kind of move into the X Factor section, who's the X Factor for you guys this season?
I'm going to say the X Factor for the Pirates. If I was to pick one guy that needs to have success this year, I'm going to go with Bubba Chandler. Just because this pitching staff already, it should be in everybody's top 5 in the league. And I know you can make an argument it might be on the cusp just because you have a lot of young arms. But Mitch Keller is going to eat 180-plus innings. Paul Skeens is going to be the NL Cy Young for pretty much whenever he wants, right? If Bubba Chandler can be that number 2 overall pitching prospect in baseball that everybody thinks he is, good luck dealing with this team late in the season, right? Now you have guys like Jared Jones coming back, Hunter Barca, these are all great arms, but if Bubba Chandler can be that guy that we think he is, and he had a small sample size last year, his last 3 starts, he struck out, I think, 31 and didn't walk anybody. If he is the flamethrower that the organization sees and he can be consistent, this team could stick with anybody come October.
Yeah, I mean, today we saw it in the first inning, 25 inches of induced vertical break. I mean, in a 101 mile an hour fastball, that should break StatCast, just that alone. I mean, that's just an unreal number right there. But I'm going to have to go on the offensive side. There's a lot of guys we talked about. Andy Rodriguez is a name that I float around a lot. If he can get a full healthy season out of him, being the full-time catcher, potentially, that would be huge as a switch hitting bat. Well, not necessarily a bat first, but a bat, a guy that can hit behind the plate. I'm going to go with O'Neal Cruz, though, because this is a guy that we have yet to see really break out. And I think a 30-30 season is incoming with the line of protection around him. I really do.
Yeah, I echo that sentiment. For me, O'Neal was also the X factor for me. I just think that, when you look at what the moves that have been made this offseason, right, there's the old adage that, your superstars have to superstar for your team to be carried, right, for your team to move forward. And we've always, seen him be in kind of that superstar mode, if you will, the projections, the StatCast exit velo, he has the makings of it. I think moving him out of short was also a smart move by the organization. But, there's still questions about what he's capable of, defensively. There's still questions about seeing him take and assert that next step in his maturation. So I think that, having Ozuna there, as we mentioned earlier, I think is going to play large in his development this year. But if he can have a big year, you guys are really projected to be a strong team this year.
Agreed. I like our chances in the Central, especially with a strong O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned, and we'll get into this section here at the top prospect, but you mentioned the left side of the infield, right? And obviously your top prospect is Connor Griffin. What would you guys say is the likelihood, or maybe lack thereof, of him actually breaking camp with the team as the opening day shortstop?
I think it's strong. I mean, I think the fact that they haven't added another third baseman, I don't see them going into opening day with Nicky G and Jared Trillo as their full-time left side of the infield. I would imagine they bring in another third baseman last minute, and if they think that Connor Griffin's going to spend some time in AAA. That being said, I think you should break camp with him, because even if he starts off slow offensively, I think he brings a high floor with his elite defense and base running skills. And I think he's by far the best option you have at shortstop right now.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's maybe the best prospect we've seen since Bobby Witt came up for the Royals. And Scott said in our show, and I say this over and over again, when they drafted him, a lot of people were upset because they wanted a college guy, somebody who's going to be ready within a couple of years. And he said on the show, we need this guy to be Bobby Witt Jr. And guess what? Like, you're getting a 5-tool player in Connor Griffin at 19 years old. He's maybe one of the mature guys that we've talked to on this program. And I think he's ready. He can handle the pressure well. And like Scott said, even without the bat, if he struggles, which we haven't seen yet at the minor league level, and the Pirates even foresaw that. They said, hey, we're going to put you at shortstop. We probably project you to be a center fielder. If you're struggling, we'll put you out in the outfield, clear your head. And what did he do? He won a Gold Glove at shortstop this year. So he said, okay, well, that's not a problem anymore. You're going to be the guy. And he's impressed ever since. So I think you don't want to put all your eggs in that basket and put too much pressure on the kid. But right now, he's your best option. And if he breaks the opening day roster, that's the best addition you made all offseason.
Yeah, I think it's also interesting because, Bryce Harper was on the Phillies broadcast and was talking about him. And his quote was, he's going to be a stud, man. So no doubt about it. If you have, a superstar, a former MVP and Bryce Harper, talking about your prospect, shortstop that's trying to break camp with the team, there's definitely something there for that player. So without a doubt, definitely going to be interesting to see how the Pirates decide to handle it. We know that there's been a lot of different things that have happened throughout the course of baseball when it comes to kind of manipulating service time. So hopefully we don't see that and we can see the best, 26-man roster break camp for every team.
Yeah, I think the difference here, too, is just the looming lockout and the fact that you have Skeens for a limited amount of time. That's obviously been the incentive for them to spend money this offseason. So I think they're going to give him a lot of challenges throughout the spring, and they've already have to start the first 4 games. They're going to give him every opportunity to win that job.
Yeah. Hopefully, they actually go through the process and give him that, actual opportunity. It'll be very interesting to watch. Now, as we kind of get to the little bit of a fun section here, looking at the bold prediction, what do you guys have as the bold prediction for the Pirates this year?
Go ahead, Scott. You got anything?
Can it be player oriented or does it have to be team? Okay, I'm gonna say 30-30 for O'Neal Cruz. I think I've said that already, but I think that's very realistic. It was said on the broadcast today, he hired a left-handed BP thrower this summer or this offseason to work with. That's been a big emphasis for him. And there's a concentrated effort on really challenging him this spring. I mean, the first 2 games he started against left-handed pitchers, against the Orioles and today against the Yankees. So I think they really want to, challenge him and make sure that he can play every day and be that guy at the top of the order. I think a 30-30 season is very, very possible and very likely for O'Neal Cruz this year.
I'm going to go out and say beyond the starting pitching staff, which should already be one of the best in baseball, they're going to have the best bullpen in baseball or close to it. Dennis Santana was masterful with his location last year. You added 2 of the hardest throwing lefties in Gregory Soto and Mason Montgomery. And then you have a lot of high leverage options. Isaac Mattson throws a bowling ball fastball. Carmen Majinski has high leverage potential. And then you have a ton of arms in the minor leagues like a Brandon Bidwell, the Aussie, who really came out last year, who could himself be a closer. So they have this plethora of arms that all could contribute this year. So I don't think they have to worry about depth because, bullpens could be fluid and guys come in and out. But even if they have somebody go down, they have another guy that can step up, that can throw 97 plus with spin. So I think adding Justin Lawrence back to the bullpen and his arm angle, you just have so many options that are coming out at you innings 6 through 9 that it's going to be difficult to hit for other teams.
Real quick too, I'm going to mention this, so don't think I'm not going to mention this on this broadcast. Adam said yesterday on our pod that he's going to get frosted tips if they win over 85 games. So clip that, put it out there on another platform. Plus 85 wins, hammer the over on that.
I'm being held accountable. I should have upped it a little bit, but I'm going with it. I'll stick with it.
So I'll get to my bold prediction now, and then we'll jump ahead a little bit to the division rankings, just because you mentioned it. So my bold prediction is actually the same as last year. I think Paul Skeens wins 20 games. I think, especially with the reinforcements that you guys have made offensively, a lot of those games where he was absolutely dealing and didn't get the decision or took the loss. Because the offense wasn't able to kind of rebound and protect him on the mound. I think we see that different this year. So I think Paul Skeens wins 20 games for you guys, and obviously another Cy Young is an easy prediction to make. I think, like you said earlier, Scott, this guy can go out there and win a Cy Young whenever he feels like it. Like, this stuff is just absolutely incredible. So I don't think it's too bold of a claim to make, but I think now with the reinforcements offensively, a lot of those games will flip in his favor instead of taking the loss because the run support wasn't there.
Yeah, I mean, just real quick, the run prevention is going to come from this starting rotation. A lot of people have questions about where people fit in defensively. You're getting your run prevention from Paul Skeens, Mitch Keller, Bubba Chandler, Jared Jones when he comes back. But a fun stat, and I haven't looked at the numbers yet, so I might be off a little bit on the win-loss projection, but if the Pirates averaged 4 runs for Paul Skeens on his starts last year, or throughout his career, he's lost 1 game. He's lost 1 major league game. If they would have just averaged 3 runs in all of his major league starts, he's 33-5. So there's your wins right there. If they could just put up on Paul Skeens' day, this is already a better team.
100%. Yes. Now, taking a look at the divisional ranking predictions, Fangraphs has you guys coming in at second in the National League Central with 83 wins and 79 losses. PECOTA, as of today, February 23rd, has you guys in third in the NL Central with 80 and 82. And my bold prediction in terms of the divisional rankings has you guys coming in at second with 85 wins. So we can see the frosted tips.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Let's go. I love it. Who do you have in first?
The Cubs. I think the moves that they made this offseason are just blistering. But I think it's going to be an interesting division for sure. And obviously, you guys have the Cardinals in the division where you can make up some easy wins against a team that I think is going to be better than people think. But obviously, is still going through that rebuild. You might be able to tack on another easy wins to get to that 85 because I saw the clip about the frosted tips and definitely had to make sure that we commented on that one for sure.
I don't know if my 9 to 5 is going to be happy about that when I show up, but listen, whatever I can do to contribute to this Bucco's organization, I'm all in. So if that gets the boys riled up, then let's go frosted tips all day.
Absolutely.
Man,
I think you can always count on the Brewers to exceed expectations, right? And the Cubs, my whole argument for a while was like, okay, you replaced Kyle Tucker with Alex Bregman. Is it like a net negative or is it a net positive? By how much? But they also added Edward Cabrera, who I'm a big believer in, and I think Cade Horton's going to take another step this year. So it should be an interesting battle in NL Central. I think it'll be a really fun division.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely agree on that for sure. Now that kind of brings me into, the next section here and facing what's the biggest question facing the organization?
I would say defensive alignment right now. Because you went into the season thinking Brian Reynolds is going to stick in right field because they already moved him from left because of defensive issues. You brought in Jake Mangum in the trade. You thought he was going to play left field. You had the trade with the Boston Red Sox with Johan Oviedo and Justinson Garcia. He could be a 4th outfielder. But then you bring in Marcell Ozuna, right? And then obviously you mentioned the Kutch situation that pretty much seals up the deal that he's not coming back unless something happens halfway through camp. So now you have to put Ryan O'Hearn to play more right field, right? You have to move Ryan Reynolds back to left field. You don't know what's happening on the left side of the infield right now. You're going to have a rotating door at first base. And then the catching situation, Henry Davis, the guys like throwing to him, but the bat still hasn't come through. So then you got Joey Bart, you have Andy Rodriguez, you have Rafael Flores, who they got back for David Bednar last year. So there's a lot of what ifs on how this team finally lays out. And if it is a rotating door and they have to move the lineup around, I think that's okay because they have the pieces to do it. But there is a little bit of questions when it comes to how strong they are defensively. Now, I think they have guys that bring in late in games like Jake Mangum and Jared Triolo, who's going to be there, that have Gold Glove potential, but they might count on winning games 12-9 at some points if you're just trying to replace Slug for defense. I think that's the biggest question right now.
I would echo that, but to be different, I would say catcher, because right now going into the opening day, I would say Joey Bart, Henry Davis again. But they have 4 catchers right now. They got Joey Bart, Henry Davis. They've got Rafael Flores, who was the main piece in David Bednar trade, and they got Andy Rodriguez. Andy Rodriguez was supposed to be the future. Rafael Flores was a big piece of your last trade. Henry Davis is every pitcher's favorite catcher on this team. So interested to see what they do there, because Joey Bart seems to be a trade chip, if you will, if someone's willing to take him on. But I think you've got 4 viable catchers at the big league level going into opening day.
Yeah. No, it's definitely an interesting move. And that's kind of one of the things that I did want to ask and kind of bring up, so I'm glad you brought it up, Adam. But, the defensive alignment is going to be one of those things that's kind of, looked at. And I think that's where some of the projections have you guys a little lower, is because of that. Even with the moves that were made, having O'Hearn in the outfield as opposed to first base, or more appropriately DH, right? You brought in Ozuna, so now that's gone, right? So that's an everyday DH for you. But Brendan Lau at second base is not known to be a great defender. Like you said, rotating door at third base, you never really know who's going to be there to have that comfortable feel. And when it comes to this pitching staff, obviously, you want them, they're going to get their strikeouts, right? But you're also going to want to be able to rely on that defense behind you, where if a ball's hit to a guy, you want that out to be made, to where these pitchers aren't having to work to get those, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth outs of an inning, right? So I think that's going to also be interesting. Now, the question that I had, just kind of going through this again, is the same question that I had last year, right? And that's, what do the Pirates do to keep Paul Skeens healthy, i.e. not what the Nationals did with Steven Strasburg, right? So it's like, how do they keep him healthy for, the full time that he's in a Pittsburgh Pirates uniform?
I mean, I think they have a relatively deep staff, right? Like, they have 5 guys right now, and in Skeens, Keller, Chandler, Ashcraft. Right now it's Jose Urquidy, Carmen Majinski, Thomas Harrington, Hunter Barco. I'd love to see them add another vet, but I'm not opposed to having a 6-man rotation, especially mid-season, to maybe skip a start here and there and stretch your starts out. That's something that they're definitely going to be mindful of while they have control of Paul Skeens. But other than that, I mean, I don't know what else you can do other than ensure that he's following routine and not throwing too much every single start.
Yeah, if you're going to count on anybody to follow routine, though, it's going to be Paul Skeens. This guy is methodical with everything that he does on a day-to-day basis. This guy's a baseball robot. He goes about everything so meticulously and to the point where, his mechanics are flawless, right? And I think he's built that in a way that prevents arm injury, again, knock on wood. But you also have to remember, if we're going back to some concerns for this season, Bubba Chandler is going to be on an innings limit this year. Braxton Ashcraft, who has dealt with Tommy John in the past and injuries, is also going to be on an innings limit. Jared Jones, whenever he comes back, is going to be limited. Hunter Barco, who is a young arm, if he breaks through, will likely be on a limit. So you do have a lot of promising young arms that could potentially be dominant, but at what point do they get shut down, or do you have to skip a start or rely on the bullpen game every once in a while? It's going to be a big question mark.
Yeah. No doubt about it. And I think that, and we'll get into it here in a little bit, but I really do think that this is a very intriguing pitching staff. And I think that it is going to take some, intriguing stuff and some interesting ways of handling the staff as a whole to be able to bring the best version of this pitching staff out, for sure. So then that kind of leads to the next aspect of it when you're looking at what's the biggest frustration now for the fan base, because obviously before, it was the team not spending, right? So they've gone out and spent a little bit this year. So what now is the biggest frustration you would say for the Pirates fan base?
All jokes aside, it's cuts. It's cuts 100%. Like that's all you're hearing about that 24/7. It's bring Kutch back, did Kutch dirty, yada yada yada, so on and so forth. But like I prefaced before, he's the best Pirate of our generation, and they want to see him go out the right way. But that's probably, if we're being realistic, the biggest frustrations this fan base has voiced over the past month.
Yeah, because usually they sign Kutch in December, and then that's pretty much the offseason. It's a 1 year, $5 million deal, and then everybody is happy for a little bit, and then nothing else happens, right? But this year they did a lot of other moves, and I think if maybe this decision was made last year, or there was different communication, we don't know what's happening behind the scenes, right? There's a lot of talk on each side, and like Scott said, I'll never have a bad thing to say about Andrew McCutchen. He is my favorite Pirate of all time, the best Pirate I've ever seen in my lifetime. I would love to see Andrew McCutchen on a winning baseball team again and contribute. But this roster and the puzzle pieces that we have right now, it just might not fit, or they might not see it fitting because of the lack of defensive value right now and having that DH hole really tied up. So, yeah, I'd have to say it's Kutch. I mean, that's been the biggest vocal point for the fan base. Other than that, maybe trading for a third baseman, but that's really fallen away as we've got into the spring training games.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, and I think it's also interesting, like you guys said, of this generation, it's Andrew McCutchen. I mean, you think back to, before that, you're talking Clemente, Mazeroski, and McCutchen. Like those are the guys, for Pittsburgh. Like, those names, as the big names, even from the outside looking in, like those are the guys you think about, and obviously RIP to Mazeroski, who passed here a few days ago. But, I think that it's interesting that, when you look at the way the last few off seasons have kind of gone down, like you said, it's sign Kutch and do nothing else. And so then fans are happy for a second because Kutch is back, but then that's it, right? So this off season, you kind of go the opposite route, and we're very busy all off season, all the way up until the end, basically right before spring training, bringing Ozuna in. And that kind of signaled Kutch not coming back unless something drastic happens, right? And so I think that it's interesting to see, what Pittsburgh decides to do with their, most legendary Pirate of this generation. So definitely interesting to take a look at.
It'll suck to see him in another jersey if he continues playing. I'll say that. I mean, that's going to hurt, but it is what it is at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you have to do what we always know that's always being said about it being a business, right? You have to do what's best for the organization and what's best for business. But it definitely, as a fan, seeing that guy don another uniform, especially at this point in his career where he's been very vocal about wanting to stay and kind of finish his career in Pittsburgh, obviously it's going to play a little bit different in that heartstring. So
100%.
Now, as we get to the offense, kind of we've been raving about it all episode long. But what would you grade out the offense and for this pitching for this Pirates team this year?
Oh man, I mean, I feel like this is in terms like an A, B, C, D grade.
Yeah,
I would say a B right now. Like I really like what the additions that they've made, and I think there's going to be more run production. I think there's going to be more runs scored. Obviously, I have worries about the defense, but we can talk about that separately. I think in terms of offense, they've really improved this team, and I don't think they're going to be losing as many one-run games anymore with Skeens on the hill.
Yeah, they've injected Slug into the lineup exactly what they needed to do. They saw what happened last year, and they said never again. We're going to do everything we can to up that OPS. We're going to do everything we can to up the slug, getting guys on base, scoring runs, driving in people. So a big problem they had is getting guys in and runners in scoring position. And I think adding Ozuna, O'Hearn, Lau really, makes a real effort to say, hey, we recognize the problem and we took care of it. I'd say a B. I mean, I think there's still some holes in this lineup, but I think from those additions, other guys like O'Neal Cruz, Brian Reynolds, they don't have to be the guy anymore. They can benefit from hitting behind or in front of an O'Hearn or a Brandon Lau or a Marcelo Ozuna. So I think everybody's going to benefit. We'll probably see a bounce back year for Brian Reynolds. We'll see Spencer Horwitz maybe take the next step. There's a lot of other guys that could potentially add value to this lineup where there's not as much pressure on them anymore.
I will add this too to close out this part. A scout told me within the organization, sell out for like a tool you believe in and go all in on that tool. And I feel like that's what they've done offensively this year. I have some arguments against that, but at the same time, like they're really selling out for run production, and you can't argue with what we've been watching for the past couple of years.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm in lockstep with you guys. I think that looking at this organization, I think the moves that have been made, give it a B grade overall. I think that there are, like you said, is room for improvement, but the moves that were made drastically and significantly improve the offense of this team from that run production standpoint. You're bringing in a guy in Ozuna, especially in PNC Park, in PNC Park, where they can absolutely rake. Yeah. I think when you look at what O'Hearn can do for this lineup, when you think about what Lau can do for this lineup, what it means for those guys that you mentioned in O'Neal Cruz, in Brian Reynolds, where they can take that, kind of pressure and that weight off their shoulders of having to feel like they have to be the guy because they're the faces of the organization. They're the homegrown talent that's been brought up through the organization. Like, you got to be the guy. Well, now they have support in that lineup. Now you've lengthened the lineup. So even if you were to go, now you're 5-6 deep instead of maybe 1 or 2. So it's very much a different team this year, offensively speaking. So I'm in lockstep with you guys in terms of a B overall grade. So now we have to look at the other aspect of it, right? So what would you give a fielding grade for the team this year?
C plus, probably. I mean, I think you're going
to.
Yeah, I think you're going to get good defense from Spencer Horwitz when he's there at first base. If Connor Griffin plays shortstop, he's proven to be a really, really good glove. You know what you're going to get out of Jared Triolo. You're going to get Gold Glove defense, but then you go to the outfield, and that's where the real concern starts to come in. You're going to have to move Brian Reynolds back to left field, where he was removed a couple of years ago because of the lack of defense. And he moved to right field, and he had the worst offseason of his career, or the worst season of his career hitting wise. So I don't know, maybe the move back to left field, he's more in familiar territory, but defensively, big question, right? O'Neal Cruz going into another full season as an outfielder. How does that look? He worked with Kevin Kiermaier this offseason, which I think is a huge storyline, and the work that he's been putting in order to say, hey, I'm a center fielder now. It's not, hey, this is the guy that we moved from shortstop because he was athletic, let him go out there and roam. No, he's actually learning the craft now, and there's so many intricacies to being a really, really good defensive outfielder, and hopefully he's all in on that. And if he is, maybe that shores up the corners, but then you have Ryan O'Hearn, who really doesn't have a big sample size in right field. So there's a lot of question marks, man. And I think guys like Jake Mangum can come in and shore up some defense late in games, like I said. And maybe Josinson Garcia makes his way back to this team eventually and provides some decent defense. But yeah, there are questions about it. And I think that's just a risk that they're going to be willing to take in order to go on the flip side and score some more runs.
Yeah, I don't have any much more to say outside of that. I think I was going to give it a C, but I think they're going to figure it out. I think they've got some late game replacements like a Jake Mangum that can play all three positions in the outfield. I think Jared Triolo's best position is being a super utility guy like Ben Zobrist type. And I think they have some other options coming up that can fill those roles late game in terms of defensive replacements.
Yeah, I'm in lockstep with you guys as well. I had it as a C grade. Just looking at the way that they have those replacements, thinking about guys like Triolo, thinking about guys like Mangum. I think that, there are different options and different avenues that they can go to kind of shore things up, when they take advantage of the additional run production that they've gotten into this lineup for sure. So I definitely think that, there are more questions to me in the outfield than there is in the infield. I think that no matter what decision they make at third base, whether it's Gonzalez, Triolo, whoever else, I think that they're going to be a little bit more shored up, especially if they put Griffin in as your everyday shortstop. But I think that it's going to be an interesting team to watch for sure. There's definitely going to be some frustrating moments in that outfield, but if you can then go on the other side of it and be able to, make up the difference on the offensive side, I think you'll take that every day.
Absolutely.
So now when it comes to the pitching staff, how would you grade out the staff as a whole?
Is there a grade higher than A+? No.
Yeah. I would say an A, man. Like I think there's you leave a little bit of room for improvement at the back end of that rotation, but it doesn't get better than Paul Skeens, at least in the National League. I mean, you can go 1A, 1B with Tarek Skubal, but Paul Skeens is as good as it comes. And then Bubba Chandler could be that X factor that I talked about. Mitch Keller is consistently one of the best pitchers in baseball when it comes to quality starts and eating up innings. And then the back end of that rotation, they really like Braxton Ashcraft. He's been a prospect for a long time who's just dealt with injuries, but he's really, really nasty. He's got a great slider. And then that fifth spot of the rotation is up for grabs unless Jared Jones comes back really strong. And we saw what he did in his rookie season. So if Jared Jones is the guy at the back end of your rotation come after the All-Star break, you're in a pretty good spot. If not, you have guys like Hunter Barco, Thomas Harrington, Jose Urquidy. They might bring in a veteran lefty, but I'm not really concerned about having a guy from the left-handed side, to be honest. I think if you have guys that are going to go out there and eat innings 1 through 6 and be dominant, maybe give up 1 run, it doesn't matter what your matchups are. It's just my best versus your best. And that's one thing that the Pirates have done consistently over the years is they've developed great pitching, and they have more on the way. Like, we could sit here all day and really dive into the prospects, but there's guys at the lower levels who are going to be breakthrough candidates this year. There's guys in Altoona, there's guys in Greensboro who really show major league promise. So that side of things for the Pirates has never been a problem, and I don't think it's ever going to be a problem in the near future.
They have pitching demons. I swear to God, it's crazy. The guys that are coming through the system. I don't. It's been Ben Cherington's MO to bring in a veteran lefty, and Tyler Anderson's a name that's out there still, and he's got familiarity with the organization. But I don't necessarily think you need a left-handed vet. Jose Urquidy is a guy who hasn't really pitched much in 2 years, who I actually have a lot of belief in, and I think could be a bounce-back candidate because he's not that old. He's like 30 years old, and he's pitched some meaningful baseball games in an October baseball. So he's a guy that I think I would be very comfortable with having that number 5 spot for the time being. That being said, too, Adam was mentioning some guys that we're not hearing about. I mentioned Bubba Chandler's 25 inches of induced vertical break on the fastball, which is just a unicorn fastball, right? Well, you got Wilbur Dotel in AA, who just was their spring training opener the other day, had 21 inches of induced vertical break. People aren't talking about him enough. And worst case scenario, he's a high leverage reliever. Like, he's got a crazy fastball splitter and slider. Christian Curtis is a guy we've had on the show twice. I think this guy is one of the most underrated pitching prospects in all of baseball, and I think he's absolutely starter at the major league level. They've just got starters for days, and I would say, yeah, I think it's an A because I think they all feed off each other. Iron sharpens iron. I think they just compete against each other and they make each other better.
You got to remember, this is a group that had Oscar Marin as the pitching coach last year, who was considered one of the better pitching coaches in all of baseball, and he was let go under Don Kelly's staff, not because he did a bad job, because they wanted to find a way to take it to the next level. And they went out there and they got Bill Murphy from the Astros, who is just, I mean, these guys are hungry. We've talked to a lot of them, and it's never good enough. They're always looking for the next step. And this is a group that is only going to want to go out there and take hitters' heads off. They want to dominate. They're psychos in the best way possible. I like that in my pitchers, right? You need a little bit of crazy out there. You need a little bit of that Max Scherzer in you. And they have that X factor when it comes to thriving as a group. So I couldn't be more excited for this pitching staff.
No, definitely. And I'm in locks up with you guys once again. I had it as an A overall grade as well. You can't knock a staff that is headlined by Paul Skeens. I think that Bubba Chandler, if he can, get to that that level of consistency and the domination that we've seen from him before, that's a dynamic 1-2 punch. And, even all the way back, last year, my X factor was Jared Jones. So if we can get a healthy Jared Jones on top of that, this becomes an even crazier staff come second half of the year, which is when teams are really starting to trying to figure out, like, all right, do we have it? Are we going for it? Are we not? Like, what are we doing? If you can get back a guy that, was absolutely ridiculous to watch his rookie year, and if he can come back healthy in that way for the Pirates, I think that there's no doubt about it. This could be arguably the best staff in all of baseball. The Mariners are probably going to try and find an argument there, but, it could easily be 1 and 1A between you two. So no doubt about it.
I would honestly take our depth over the Mariners. I know that Mariners 5 is ridiculous, but like it goes from the top 5 then to Emerson Hancock, who I think we've got 3 or 4 guys in our minors that are better than Emerson Hancock, in my opinion. Just saying.
And so as we kind of bring it to the end here and the title of the episode, the title of the series, what is the state of the franchise for the Pittsburgh Pirates in 2026?
Legitimate wild card playoff contender. I really do believe that, which is crazy to say out loud. But I do believe that they have made the acquisitions and made this team better, not just skill-wise, but in the clubhouse. They've added great guys to the clubhouse, and they've added guys that can uplift other players that have been in the clubhouse. And I think that's going to go a long way. And I think we're going to be seeing meaningful baseball into the end of September here in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, there's been a significant culture shift, and it's night and day from where it once was with Derek Shelton. And you can make the argument that the Pirates really never gave him a roster to do anything with, but there was a meaningful shift when Don Kelly took over. And this is a guy that's from Pittsburgh who bleeds black and gold. He knows what it's like to see winning teams in the city and what it means to the people of Pittsburgh. And at the end of the day, Pittsburgh is a baseball city. People forget that. Like, this city will show for their team, and they've been through the ringer for a long time. And the guys that they've brought in have really switched things around, and they've created that winning culture that's already being talked about in spring training. Just the good vibes that are happening. I can't stress that enough. I know it's a corny thing to say, but the vibes are high. And I think this is a solid team. So, yeah, the state of the union is good right now, all things considered. And we're excited for opening day and to see the plan in action.
Yeah, 100%. I'm in lockstep with you guys there once again. I think that this is definitely a team that has the potential and is on the precipice of a wild card berth. I think that it's going to be a fun divisional battle as well. We mentioned it earlier, but the Brewers always seem to find a way to do something and are always in the mix. The moves that the Cubs have made this offseason are very interesting, especially the Edward Cabrera move. I think is going to be one of the more underrated. Obviously, Bregman's going to get all the name notoriety of the acquisition there, but Cabrera is going to be one of the guys that to me really stands out. So it's going to be interesting. And, Cincinnati was in the postseason last year. They're not going to want to just fall off the map either. So it's definitely going to be a fun and interesting division. But I think you guys are going to be in the hunt for a wild card. Like you said, Scott, meaningful September baseball in Pittsburgh always makes the entire sport of MLB that much better. So having the Pirates in the mix there, and finally being able to have that off season where you guys can actually be smiling heading into opening day instead of dreading and seeing how far down the other side of the win curve you've fallen. So things are looking up in Pittsburgh. So it's definitely a more positive light that we've ended the 2026 state of the franchise as opposed to 2025.
Yeah, just want to play meaningful baseball. That's all I'm asking for. Meaningful baseball past the All-Star break. That's not too much. And 85 wins.
That's it. We got to get the frosted tips.
Yeah, got to get the frosted tips.
Oh, man. So once again, I want to thank you guys for joining me. It's always a blast having you guys on the show. Let everybody know where they can get more content from Bucco's Banter.
Yeah, absolutely. You could find us pretty much anywhere where you get your social media. That's Instagram, Twitter, or X, YouTube, at BuccoBantr. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell a friend to tell a friend. We've really taken off here, and we'll have all access this year. So on the field content around the league, you name it, we got it. We have episodes coming out pretty much 3 to 4 times a week, everything from the Major League Club all the way down to the Dominican Summer League. So we got a lot of fun content. Yeah, at BuccoBantr, BANTR. Anywhere where you consume your podcast or social media, you could find us there. And if you follow, we'll greatly appreciate that.
Absolutely, and we'll get you guys linked in the description so everybody has a much easier time following your YouTube channel for sure. So Adam, Scott, I want to thank you guys for joining me again. It's again always a blast with you guys being able to talk Pirates baseball. You guys definitely bring the knowledge and the love for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and that's very much appreciated here on the Baseball Banter broadcast. So I want to thank you all for joining us here on this particular episode of the State of the Franchise, and we'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.
Thanks for having us.